Fight for Olympus, a two-player game by Mayfair Games that was released at Gen Con 2016, which is where I picked up my copy a couple of days ago. This is a simple two-player game. It is played with cards. Cards represent units that are placed around this board to gain control of areas of the board. And the characters and the theme in general is based on Greek mythology. Players will share this deck of cards that are shuffled at the beginning of the game. Then 20 cards from this deck are taken and they're not used in a game. So each game you will have very different cards, or in any case you will have a different mix of cards, which is good for replay value. Also, if you feel that the game lasts too long, which is possible, then you simply remove more cards at the beginning, so you have a thinner deck and the game will last less. Each player receives 6 cards at the beginning of the game. You put the board in the middle of the table. You place those tokens there. You place this token here on the 0 space of the score track, and the game is ready to start. When it is your turn, you can play cards from your hand. The cards have a cost indicated here, which represents the cards that you need to discard to be able to play that card. For example, if I want to play Protesilaus, I need to spend a green card and a yellow card. So cards can be played by discarding other cards, or they can be discarded as currency. So for example, I could discard these two cards to play this guy. And you can play as many cards as you want and as you can afford. When you play a card, if it is a hero or a soldier, then you can put it on any free slot on the board. Each side has 3 slots in this area, and this area represents Mount Olympus, 2 slots in this area that represents Delphi, and 1 area there that represents Troy. You also have equipment, and equipment needs to be attached to heroes or soldiers, cannot be left there hanging by itself. So that would be like this. Characters have an attack value, a defense value, which you should think of as life points, and those values can be modified by equipment. And then most characters also have some special effects, special ability that is described in the card, on the card itself. Some don't. But again, there's just a lot, enormous range of effects that you can become familiar with and you can have fun playing with. You can pause the video and read some of the text to get a better sense of what the options in the game are. So you discard cards to play other cards in the various areas on the board. And suppose that after a couple of turns, this is the situation. This is the situation on the board. Now, after you're done playing cards, all of your cards on the board attack. Now, if a card is opposed by another card, is opposing another card, then you simply deal the number of points that you have in attack as damage to the opponent. So, for example, Protesilaus, when attacking, deals 2 points of damage to the opponent. I take 2 damage tokens and I put them on the opponent. As simple as that. However, if there isn't an opponent that is opposing me, I get a benefit. Important, during combat, the opponent doesn't get to fight back immediately, unless there is a game effect that allows that. Usually, you simply attack in your turn, you deal damage in your turn, and you take damage during the turn of the opponent. There isn't much else that you can do. Again, unless there are game effects that break these rules. But that is the general idea. So if there is an opposing enemy, I inflict damage on the enemy. If there is not any enemy in front of me, then I get an advantage. If I'm attacking with an unopposed enemy on Mount Olympus, I score a point. So I simply move the point, the score token by 1 point towards my end of the scoring track. And if I get to 7, I win immediately. If I have an unopposed hero or unopposed character attacking in this area, then I get to grab one of these tokens that can be used as resources to pay to play cards. So for example, if I want to play this card and I have this token, I can spend this token instead of a card, or I can use tokens together with cards to buy other cards. Well, speaking of cards, there are some cards that can be used as any type of symbol, as any type of energy currency to buy for other cards, to purchase other cards. If I have a hero that is unopposed here in this area, then I get an extra card. I get to draw a card immediately. So those are the benefits. Extra point, get a token from the pool to be spent as resources later, get a card. Once you're done with this, you draw 2 cards on the deck. Your turn is over. The game goes to the opponent, and that's it. And you repeat back and forth, playing heroes, attacking, grabbing resources, grabbing advantages, until one of the following happens. It may be that one of the players reaches 7 points on their side of the track, in which case the player wins. It may be that you have characters in each slot on your side of the board at the beginning of your turn, in which case you also win. So when you put cards there, you fill up the board on your side. You need to be able to retain control of all slots during the turn of the opponent. The opponent has 1 turn to try to eliminate at least one of your guys. If the turn goes back to you and you're still there, you're still occupying all the slots, you win the game. If the deck runs out and the game has not ended because of one of the other 2 conditions, then the winner is the player that has the majority of points, or the player that has the marker on their side of the board. Fight for Olympus is a simple, very tactical, and somewhat chaotic game. And maybe it will be a little too simple, a little too chaotic for some people, for some players out there. I personally enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed the feel of like swimming against a tide of chaos in which you're still trying to see patterns and to create configurations that will benefit you. It's very tactical in the sense that it is hard to look ahead and plan for the future because you do not know what cards you're going to get. You do not know what cards the opponent will get and what cards the opponent will put on the table. Sometimes you're planning from turn to turn, especially if you're trying to develop like a powerful hero, so you're collecting cards, but you do not know when you're going to get the right cards, and if the opponent does a move that immediately threatens you, that immediately creates a combo of the abilities of their units that will give the opponent a huge advantage, then you may burn the hero that you wanted to develop as a resource to develop some of the cards that are less powerful but will allow you to put together hasty but necessary defense. So it really is a constant matter of reacting to what you get and what the opponent brings to the table. So in that sense, again, you get a sense that you have limited control on what happens, but actually within the range of the possibilities of the game, I found that still what I was doing was significant. What I did was fun. It was still fun to decide to develop a card rather than another, and to put a card in a position rather than another. I found that the choices that I have, while surrounded by a tsunami of randomness, still were significant and still were satisfying enough to keep me entertained. And also I like the fact that not all the cards were used in all games. That, yes, increased even more the randomness and your inability of predicting what would happen. You could not count on a certain card being there, so I know sooner or later I'll be able to put it together with this other card. No such thing. And this is why you kind of like the game at some point sort of like taught me to just not worry and go with the flow, and without worrying too much about seeing what happened ahead, and again doing what I could with what I got. I enjoyed that sense of freedom and of options within this range of completely unpredictable elements. This being said, the game is very simple. It is a back and forth, and so after a while it may feel a little repetitive. especially if the players are well matched, and then you win by going through the whole deck, then the game may take a while, but I would say it feels like it's longer than it is, because ultimately it is, I play a card, you play a card, I play two cards, you play two cards, we go through the effects, etc., etc. And sometimes the turns are very simple, very quick. I may not play any card, and I simply resolve the attack effects, which may not be many, maybe have a single powerful hero there. I simply resolve that and back to you. And that is, I don't know, both a plus and a minus. The minus is, well, that turn I didn't do anything significant. The plus is that if the opponent is in a similar situation, or in any case, the back and forth is so fast that then there is virtually no downtime. I don't play any card this turn, I resolve an effect, I collect two cards, you play a card, resolve the effect, you pick up your card, and so on and so forth. This description I gave you is, I wouldn't say is in real time, but almost in real time. That's how quick things can go with players that do not obsess too much, that do not try to optimize things, which is, I think, would be a complete misunderstanding of the game. Somebody would be driven to the edge of insanity trying to optimize and maximize and use the cards at the best of their possibilities. Go with the flow. It's a game about the ancient Greek gods, so it's about destiny, it's about an incomprehensible fate that is up there, no one understands it, and no one really can control it. In that sense, maybe the randomness that is at the core of the design makes sense thematically. Overall, however, I find this to be an entertaining filler, or extended filler, slightly larger filler. It is a filler in the sense that you can easily teach it, you can easily set it up, and you place rather quickly, and if an opponent gains an immediate advantage, then you will play very quickly. But even if you go through the full game, it is not that long. Again, it may feel a little long because the back and forth is pretty standard, is a little repetitive. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I don't feel that the repetitive feel is a deal breaker or really mars the experience in any significant way. I enjoyed it as a simple, light, to play with your spouse type of game, as an extended filler, as a lunch game, as a lunch break game, as a pub game. Simple to teach, easy to play, but still entertaining, very portable. So it has all of the advantages of these games that you squeeze between other games as a warm-up activity in a game night or during a break. In any case, I found it quite pleasant. Not the deepest game out there, not the most epic, but quite entertaining. Fight for Olympus by Mayfair Games.